Inside the world's most dangerous cave, unveiling shocking secrets you never knew. Deep in the rugged mountains of the Pacific Northwest lies a cave that has become a source of dark mystery and pure terror. They call it Black Hollow. Locals whisper about it in hushed tones, sharing spine-chilling tales of explorers who vanished without a trace. The rumors swirl an endless labyrinth filled with shadows, the air thick with an overwhelming sense of dread. It's said that once you enter, you may never come out. Strange sounds echo from the cave's mouth, haunting howls at night that make your skin crawl. Some say it's the spirits of lost souls trapped forever within its depths. Others talk about the flickering lights seen within, flickering like ghostly candles. No one knows what's down there, but the fear is real. That fear grips the heart, squeezing tightly, pushing you to wonder, what lies hidden in the darkness? A team of brave adventurers decided to enter Black Hollow, armed only with flashlights and courage, or was it foolishness? With each step they took, the weight of the cave pressed down on them, a cold, clammy grip that made their knees tremble. The echo of their own footsteps blended with the whispers of the cave, heightening the sense of urgency. Heartbeats raced. They wondered, were the stories true? The tightness in their chests grew as they descended deeper, every corner revealing more darkness, more secrets that begged to be uncovered. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then, silence, an oppressive, thick silence that fell like a dark curtain around them. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the calm. One of the adventurers had stumbled upon something unimaginable, a grotesque sight lying in the shadows. Hands trembling, they edged closer. Was that a sign of life, or something far more sinister? Tension gripped the group, breaths held tight, hearts pounding in unison. The cave felt like a living entity, breathing deeper, wider, ready to consume their very souls. As they stood in fearful anticipation, the question hung in the air: would they flee from the monster lurking just beyond the darkness, or would curiosity pull them further into the chilling unknown? The group exchanged frantic glances, eyes wide with terror, when another scream echoed, drawing them into its chilling embrace. Each adventurer felt a mix of panic and morbid intrigue. They were drawn to that grotesque sight like moths to an all-consuming flame. What was it? Forcing their legs to move, they crept forward, hearts hammering against their rib cages. The unpleasant smell of decay clawed at their nostrils, thick and suffocating, as they neared the source of the commotion. Shadows danced on the cave walls, twisting and shifting, amplifying the claustrophobia wrapping around them. With a shaky breath, one adventurer shone their flashlight on the grotesque mass. A human hand, pale and almost translucent, was sticking out from a tide of cave sludge. Fingers were curled, contorted in fear, or in a final, desperate plea for help. The light revealed darkened dirt creeping up the arm like a deadly vine. The group reeled back in horror. Is that someone? One of them whispered, clutching their chest. A knot of dread twisted tighter in their stomachs, urging them to run. But curiosity and fear held them captive, looming threats weighing down their instincts. Before anyone could respond, the cave seemed to quiver. A low rumble reverberated through the cavern, unnerving their balance and sending loose rocks tumbling. The walls felt alive, like the cave was stirring from an ancient slumber. Eyes darted in every direction, seeking escape, yet all they found was darkness. What do we do? We should go. A voice cried urgently, breaking the spell of their horror. But in the back of everyone's mind lingered that insatiable curiosity. What if there were more truths buried here? Why had they come if they were not brave enough to face them? With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they took a collective breath and pressed closer to the grotesque hand. One adventurer, an avid fan of urban legends, spoke up, "This cave is said to be a trap for those searching for answers. What if we can find out what it wants?" The others exchanged unsure glances as fear clashed with the tantalizing pull of the unknown. Were they prepared to uncover whatever secrets Black Hollow held? Tension grew thicker, fogging their thoughts like the stale air surrounding them. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered, plunging them in darkness before it surged back to life. In that moment of lost light, a whisper slithered through the cave. "Help!" It was faint, like a ghostly breath trailing through the damp space. The adventurers stiffened. Sweaty palms released flashlights, pulling them even deeper into the cave, following the allure of the unknown. Each step was a heartbeat closer to an unimaginable truth. They could feel it, the sensation that they were being watched, as if unseen eyes were tracing their every move. Adrenaline spiked, pulsing with the rhythm of their frantic pulses, but then, out of the gloom came a figure, a gaunt silhouette emerging from the shadows. It moved with an unnatural grace, seeming to blend with the darkness itself. The entire group froze, hearts pounding in their throats. "Why have you come?" a voice hissed from this figure, sending chills racing down their spines. In that moment, all thoughts of escape vanished. The only thing that mattered was that question echoing in their minds. What lay behind that haunting voice? And who or what was standing before them in the suffocating silence of Black Hollow? Just then, an impossibly bright flickering light burst into the cave, illuminating their surroundings and the figure. Shadows receded, but the questions multiplied. What truths awaited them in the light, and would they embrace or banish the darkness that had called them here? The figure stepped forward, the harsh light revealing a face that was almost too pale to be human. Hollow eyes stared at the group, deep and dark like endless pits. The adventurers felt the weight of silence pressing down on them. Time stretched, each heartbeat echoing in their ears. "Do you seek knowledge?" the figure asked, its voice serpentine, curling around their senses. "Or do you come to mock those who have unraveled their fates within these walls?" As it spoke, the air thickened with an inexplicable tension. A shiver coursed through the group, that instinct that clawed at the back of their minds, urging them to flee. But curiosity clawed back, a siren's call they found hard to resist. "What happened to the person that hand?" One adventurer gathered enough courage to ask, voice trembling. The figure tilted its head, a slow, deliberate movement. "The cave rewards and punishes those who dare to search its depths. To find answers, one might solemnly pay a price." The flickering light danced ominously, revealing more than just the figure. Behind it, murky shapes writhed in the shadows, their forms indistinct yet undeniably alive. The air buzzed with an electric charge, as if the cave itself was an ancient being, flexing its power over them. "What do you mean by price?" another adventurer whispered, fearing to speak too loudly, afraid to break the fragile tension hanging in the air. "Every question asked charges a toll," the figure replied, each word dripping with mystery. "Every secret unveiled demands a part of your soul or perhaps your mind." The group exchanged looks, acknowledgement simmering among them. They had come into this cave seeking adventure, but now they stood on the precipice of something much darker. A voice broke the stillness, shaky yet fierce. "We have to move. This is madness." But before anyone could react, the whisper came again, more insistent and clear this time. "Help me." The voice seemed to close in around them. It did not belong to the figure, and it sent a fresh wave of dread crashing against their courage. As if responding to their thoughts, the figure smiled, a smirk that sent chills racing down their spines. "So many lost souls are calling out to you. Will you answer their plea or will you choose to turn away?" Desperation ignited their hearts. They wanted to escape, but fear held them captive. What if there were truth hidden beneath layers of myth? A chance to save a life or to condemn themselves. With a jolt, one of them stepped forward, driven by something deeper than fear, a need to uncover whatever lay shrouded in darkness. "Show us the way," they declared, voice steadying with bravery. The figure's expression hardened, shadows writhing in its gaze. Very well. But remember, knowledge is a double-edged sword. Not all truths lead to salvation. Suddenly, a bright light flashed, and the walls of the cave seemed to shift. The ground trembled beneath them, drawing away the path they had taken. Whispers escalated into anguished cries that echoed off the stone walls, forcing them further into the unknown blackness. Choose wisely, the figure warned, its form flickering like a dying star before vanishing. The cave brightened once more, revealing a narrow passage. Without thought, they moved forward, a bundle of trembling hearts united against the dread. What awaited them down that passage? Another truth? Or the cost of seeking too deep? As they descended into the darkness, the cries grew louder, and a sudden crash echoed from far behind them. Panic seized their hearts as a realization dawned. Something had awakened in the shadows, something hungry for the answers they sought. What was lurking just beyond their vision? Were they truly prepared to face the consequences of their quest? The passage loomed before them, twisting deeper into the cave's bowels. Shadows coiled around their legs like snakes, pulling at their instincts to retreat. They pressed on, though each echoing cry set their nerves ablaze. The walls seemed to lean in closer, shrinking their world, until only the faint glow ahead provided any reassurance. "Keep moving," someone urged, breathless with an urgency fueled by fear and curiosity. The others nodded, desperation binding them together stronger than the dread that threatened to tear them apart. As they advanced, the air thickened, a humid weight settling on their chests. Each step felt like a pact, made not with words but with the silent acknowledgement that every question they asked would demand a price. The whispers crept alongside, scraping against the edges of their minds. "Help me, save us. What if we can't pay?" A voice quivered through the darkness, the reality of their situation hitting like a sledgehammer. They halted for a moment, fear settling in like lead, shadows dancing menacingly around them. "Keep moving." A new voice shouted, steely and resolute. It belonged to Jenna, whose eyes shone with defiance. "We came for answers. Let us not let this cave take us down with worry." With newfound determination, they turned the corner, and the passage opened into a larger chamber, vast and echoing. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like fangs, dripping steadily, each drop punctuating the mounting tension. At the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, upon which shimmered an orb, pulsating with an eerie glow. "Is that?" whispered Caleb, stepping closer, as if drawn by an invisible tether. "Yes, that's it," Jenna replied, feeling the draw as well. "The source of power, the knowledge. But what does it cost?" Before Caleb could lay a hand on the orb, a dawn-like brilliance erupted from it, illuminating the room and revealing the anguished faces of shattered souls, blurry, mired in chains of despair, each face pleading for rescue. The room rattled with their cries, drowning out their thoughts, crashing over them like an unforgiving tide. Then, like a thunderclap, silence fell. Each adventurer held their breath, the gravity of the moment weighing heavy. "What do we do?" Sam asked, uncertainty threading through his voice like a flicker of darkness. "Touch it," Jenna instructed, half breathless, strange conviction pulsing in her veins. "We need to know. We want the truth. Whatever it takes." And before anyone could voice their reluctance, Caleb reached out, fingers brushing the cool surface of the orb. An electric shock coursed through him, igniting his senses, visions exploding behind his eyes. Screams of pain echoed, not just external but internal, tearing at the fabric of his very soul. "Stop, Caleb!" someone shouted, but the orb's pull was relentless. "What is happening?" Sam yelled, crashing forward, but a pulse of energy rebuffed him, as if the cave itself were protecting its most sacred secret. Then Caleb fell to his knees, gasping. Images flooded his mind, horrific scenes from the past, losses unburied, choices made and regretted. He saw fragments of lives entwined with the darkness they now faced. The figure's warning echoed in the cavern, knowledge is a double-edged sword. The orb pulsed brighter, infusing the air with dread. What had he unleashed? A thought swirled and coiled around them, tightening like a noose. Behind them, the shadows stirred, awakened and restless, drawn to the power unleashed. "Caleb, fight it!" Jenna urged, terror igniting her voice. "You have to let go. We need you." But it was too late. The cavern began to tremble as shadowy figures emerged from the walls, writhing and twisting. Their hollow eyes swallowed the light whole, and despair poured into the air with every haunting wail. Caleb raised his head, wide-eyed and frightened. "I see them, I see their pain." But what he saw began to seep into his very bones, powerful and consuming. Darkness pooled at his feet, ready to drag him under. What truths lay buried within those shadows? What more would they pay to uncover the horrors that awaited? As the shadows closed in, and the orb flickered erratically, uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud. Could they save Caleb and themselves, or would they join the ranks of lost souls forever trapped in the cave's grasp? Were they brave enough to face the price of knowledge, or would they pay in ways they could never imagine? Caleb gasped, clenching his fists as the swirling shadows coalesced into a more defined form, twisting into figures of agony. Their mouths opened in silent screams, faces contorted with anguish that mirrored his own. The orb throbbed violently, the light refracting through the darkness, igniting a chaotic energy that filled the chamber with dread. "Get back!" Jenna yelled, reaching toward Caleb as she fought against the pressing shadows. She watched in horror as his expression shifted, panic giving way to something darker, a hunger for knowledge, a thirst for understanding that threatened to consume them all. "Caleb! You have to fight it!" Sam shouted, scrambling to grab Caleb's arm. But a chilling wave surged from the orb, pushing them back as if to say, "This truth is not yours to share." The very walls shivered around them, the sound of scraping stone mingling with the anguished wails of the lost. Jenna could feel her heartbeat drumming in her ears, each thud a desperate reminder of the danger they were in. The shadows loomed larger, tendrils reaching toward them as they gripped the air, searching. Then, through the chaos, Caleb's voice pierced the shadowy fabric surrounding them. "I understand. They need help, but how?" His eyes glowed with an unnatural light, caught between desperation and revelation. "Caleb, we can't help them," Jenna cried, inching closer. "We need to leave." But he shook his head, overrun by a tumultuous surge of emotions. "I can't, they're trapped. We can set them free." His voice trembled, but the conviction was strong. What truth could bind him so tight to this horror? "Get out of his head!" Sam screamed, pushing up against the dark energy that cascaded from the orb like a tidal wave. He was losing Caleb, losing them all, and he fought against the pressure that threatened to crush his resolve. Suddenly, a voice echoed from within the shadows, cold and musty, coiling around their consciousness. "You seek knowledge, foolish mortals. To serve as saviors is no small price. Are you willing to pay?" Chills cascaded down Jenna's spine. "What do you want?" She spat, unwilling to yield. But the voice cackled, a sinister sound that echoed around the chamber, vibrating with centuries of sorrow and malice. "If you wish to give them relief, a sacrifice must be made," it taunted, whispering dark possibilities that danced chaotically in their minds. The shadows began to tighten their grasp, reshaping into grotesque visages of the anguished. "Caleb!" Jenna surged forward, defiant. He was slipping. "Listen to us. This isn't you." She reached for him, met with a painful shock that coursed through her fingertips. "I can't let them suffer," he shouted, his eyes still locked onto the orb. Desperation burned in his gaze, blurring the line between salvation and destruction. As the shadows coiled tighter, Sam stumbled backward, mind racing with the implications of the voice's words. What if we can't stop him in time? What will the price be? Jenna's heart raced, the question clawing at her throat. Shadows expanded, reaching for their very souls. It would take more than courage to unravel the binds of the cave, but how much more? A tremor surged through the chamber, shifting the ground beneath them as if the cave itself were alive, sensing the rising stakes. Caleb stood, a statue lost in darkness, determination battling against the despair wrapping around him. "You can't do this alone," Jenna shouted, catching Caleb's gaze. "We are stronger together." With that, a flicker of uncertainty passed over his face, a crack in his resolve. The shadows hesitated, and the orb pulsed violently, as if threatening to erupt. Could they pull him free before the price was claimed? The intensity of the moment felt suspended in time, a breathless plea for hope amidst fear. The fate of Caleb, and perhaps their own souls, dangled at the precipice of decision. As the overwhelming power of the orb coiled tighter, begging to be unleashed, they faced a stark truth: to untangle the mystery, one of them would have to be the first to surrender. Would they dare make that sacrifice, or would the shadows claim them all? The shadows writhed around Caleb, a living darkness that sought to absorb him whole. Jenna watched as his face flickered, revealing a man at war with himself. "Caleb, stay with us." Her voice echoed through the tumult, but beneath the weight of the specters, it felt fragile, almost like a whisper. A tremor rattled the chamber again, dust raining down like long-buried secrets. Sam, panting heavily, pulled Jenna closer, letting back his own fear for Caleb's spirit. "We can't let him go. We have to fight this together." His hands gripped hers, anchoring them both in the moment as panic uncoiled around them. Together, Jenna breathed, looking into Sam's eyes, sharing that flicker of hope. But as soon as the thought emerged, shadows lunged, swallowing their moment. Caleb was their target, and as the malevolent tendrils tightened, he staggered forward, seemingly drawn to the orb's insatiable light. With a sudden burst of energy, the shadows released a howl, a disturbing symphony of tormented souls. A memory flooded Jenna's mind, visions of lost loved ones, echoes of laughter snatched away, despair that gripped hearts as tightly as the shadows did now. She had to do something, anything. "Caleb!" She screamed again, determination flaring in her chest as she stepped closer. "You're not alone. Fight it, fight for us." The light in his eyes flickered. For a moment, he looked back at Jenna, a flicker of recognition breaking through the shadows clinging to him. I can hear them," he murmured, his voice softening, almost human again. "They're crying for help, Jenna." "No!" Sam shouted, resting reluctantly from his disbelief. "You need to push it away. You can't listen to them. It's a trick." Suddenly, the orb exploded with light. It illuminated the chamber, casting monstrous shadows against the cave walls. In shimmering brilliance, for one fleeting moment, the tortured figures surrounding them wavered, revealing their real forms, faces of despair contorted, mouths stretched into silent screams reaching out for existence. "Listen to me. You need to choose," Jenna shouted, her heart pounding as urgency gripped her. "What do you want, freedom for the lost, or to be lost yourself?" Caleb hesitated, torn between the cries for salvation and the warning in his friends' voices. As though the shadows sensed his indecision, they surged forward, almost snatching him into their cold embrace. Dark tendrils lashed out, slowing the pulsing of the orb like a predator closing in. "Choose now, Caleb. Don't let them consume you." Sam met his gaze, frustration melting into desperation. He stood there, frozen, wrestling with the swirling shadow's promise of knowledge, tantalizing in its hunger. Then Jenna remembered the binding contracts of the past, legends of those who had dared seek the unseen. Would he share that same fate? Her voice came out as a desperate plead. "You can't sacrifice yourself for them. You're more than this moment. Fight for us, Caleb." With every word, she felt a fragile tendril of resolve reach out, wrapping around Caleb's heart, pulling him back to the light. But the shadows roared, a guttural sound that vibrated through the cave, cracking the stone walls further. The orb's glow began to dim, losing energy, but the shadows were relentless in their pursuit. "What if it isn't just Caleb?" Sam shouted, realizing with horror that they too were becoming targets. "What if the price is all of us?" A sudden chill wrapped around their ankles, pulling as if to drag them into the depths of despair. The cave trembled once again, like it had come alive to shield its secrets. "Caleb. You need to make a choice." Jenna's heart thundered painfully, fear creeping up her spine. The tension in the air thickened, stretching their hope to the breaking point. Outside the cave, a storm began to rumble, mirroring the chaos within. But inside, with shadows clawing at their resolve, two paths emerged before Caleb. Would he return to the shadows and seek the forbidden truth, or fight back for himself and his friends? As the shadows unleashed a final, horrifying screech, Caleb closed his eyes. What choice would he make, and what dark consequences would follow as the very walls of the cave began to shatter around them? Caleb felt the shadows breathing down his neck, their icy whispers wrapping around him like chains. The choices rushed through his mind, colliding violently. The pain of lost memories, the lure of forbidden knowledge, and the heavy weight of his friend's desperate pleas churned inside him, creating a storm that threatened to drag him down into a void of unspeakable dread. "Caleb!" Jenna cried again, her voice slicing through the chaos. "You have to fight it. You can't give in." But as he stood frozen in that moment, the weight of the orb's fading light bore down on him. The darkness pulsed like a living creature, hungry and insatiable. Each heartbeat pushed him closer to a decision he was terrified to make. What if letting go meant freedom for the lost souls? The thought sparked a curiosity, a dangerous pull. A wave of energy surged from the shadows, knocking Jenna and Sam backward. They stumbled, caught off guard by the force, their hands slipping as they sought to grasp any last remnants of light. "Stay together!" Sam shouted, scrambling to find Jenna amidst the chaos. He could hardly believe they were in a place where trust had to be tested against the spectrum of danger. What if Caleb chose to embrace the darkness? The thought twisted a knot in his stomach. He looked toward Caleb, whose eyes remained shut as if in prayer, oblivious to the havoc around him. With renewed urgency, Jenna pushed forward, waving her hands in front of Caleb's face. "Caleb, focus. We need you. We love you, don't lose sight of that." At the words, a flicker of resistance ignited in his chest. He could still remember laughter, warmth, and moments of joy. It was a sliver of light in an otherwise suffocating darkness. The shadows screeched again, reverberating through the cave like an earthquake ripping apart reality. Dust and rocks rained down like a shower of despair, and the air grew thick with an overpowering stench of rot. Caleb gasped, longing for breath that eluded him. Then it happened. In one desperate moment, his eyes snapped open, ablaze with a newfound resolve. He turned away from the shadows, breaking free from their grasp. "No!" he shouted, voice echoing against cavernous walls. "I want to let you take me." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as if stung, revealing gaping holes where light flickered through the cracks. Jenna and Sam gasped, shock coursing through them. Caleb surged forward, tears in his eyes, acknowledging the ghosts that clung to him. "I'm sorry, but I can't save you." In that moment, he made his choice. The heavy chains of darkness began to unravel. The shadows emitted a howl that shook the very foundations of their prison, a mournful wail that clawed at their hearts. "Fight! Keep pushing!" Jenna urged, reaching out for him. She could see the emergence of clarity in his expression, the liberation breaking through the chaos. With Caleb forging ahead, tendrils of darkness lashed out in retaliation, racing toward them like wild serpents. But now, the orb pulsed brightly, fueled by Caleb's choice, illuminating the space around them with an intensity that sent tremors of hope throughout. Together, they could rise against it. "Sam, hold on to me!" Jenna yelled as the shadows swirled like a tempest, aiming to engulf them all. They braced themselves, knowing the battle was only just beginning. Caleb had made his choice, but what about his friends? Would they survive the wrath of the shadows now that they had just unwoven their grip? The air vibrated with a new tension. The ground quaked beneath them, buckling and splintering. The world outside awaited, storm clouds swirling with fury. And above it all, the soft, chilling whispers of the shadows promised treachery, fueling their anger with the weight of every secret they kept hidden. Was this truly the end, or just an ominous beginning? The shadows lurked, their violent wails echoing as they twisted and churned, clawing for anything they could ensnare. As Caleb's resolve flickered into a steady flame, Jenna felt a surge of hope welled up in her chest, but it was quickly clouded by dread. The darkness was relentless, each moment felt stretched and fragile, like glass on the brink of shattering. "Caleb, keep moving," Sam urged, his voice trembling slightly. He squeezed Jenna's hand tightly, knuckles white. The energy in the air was charged, thick with foreboding. "Don't give them a chance to reclaim you." Caleb forged ahead, instinctively knowing that hesitation meant death. But as he stepped into the flickering light, he was met with a wave of whispered accusations from the shadows. Each voice held a fragment of his past, echoes of choices he regretted. "You can save us," they hissed, merging into a chorus that reverberated through his mind. "Abandon them and live free." Caleb staggered momentarily, the weight of their words pressing down like a vice, squeezing the breath from his lungs. "No." He clamped his hands over his ears, trying to drown them out. He was not just a vessel for their despair. "I need them. Think about what we could do," the shadows persisted, wrapping around him. They twisted around his thoughts, painting vivid pictures of an ideal future, a twisted version of reality where he ruled without boundaries. "Look at what binds you," they cried. "These ties to your friends will shackle you forever." Caleb shook his head, feeling the silky coils of darkness still pulling, still enticing. With every passing moment, the shadows grew more sophisticated, more seductive in their temptations. Jenna and Sam struggled to maintain their own ground, fighting back against the waves of darkness that surged at them. "Don't listen, Caleb. Remember us. Your life isn't in the shadows." Jenna's voice managed to break through the cacophony, reaching for him, the shining beacon amidst the chaos. The shadows snarled, furious retribution clawing at him. Caleb fixed his gaze ahead, past the swirling tendrils of despair and doubt. Just then, in the depths of his soul, the warmth of their connection ignited like fire in the night. He could see their faces, feel their laughter, the deep unyielding bonds they had created through trials in life. "I won't lose you," he finally shouted back at the shadows, each syllable laden with fierce emotion. The orb radiated an incandescent light, pulsating as if it shared his intent, amplifying the intensity all around them. In striking unison, the shadows retreated momentarily, recoiling as Caleb's choice solidified. "Sam. Jenna. Now," he urged, rallying the remnants of their strength. But the shadows were not done. With a feral howl, they lashed out, a hurricane of darkness, hurtling towards the trio with the force of a thunderclap. Rock and dust erupted around them, and for a heartbeat, everything seemed to freeze, the air crackling, the ground rumbling ominously beneath them. Suddenly, a blinding flare erupted from the orb, and Caleb felt the weight of their fears pressing him forward. "Together," he bellowed, the word an incantation that ignited the remnants of hope within them. The light blazed as the shadows diverged, creating a path, leading them onward toward the heart of the cave, a place where truth lay waiting. But as they sprinted towards the light, a thunderous roar erupted behind them, deafening and all-consuming. It was an answer to their reckless bravery. The shadows were preparing one last assault. Caleb felt its intensity ripple through his bones, pushing him to go faster, but the journey ahead was wrought with peril. What lay in the heart of the cave? Would they unearth the secrets of the darkness, or become consumed in its grasp? A fierce whisper brushed against his ear, promising both answers and danger. And in that moment of uncertainty, he could only hope that escape was still an option. What awaited them in the depths? Would they fight or flee? The truth was waiting, and it had its own plans. Caleb pushed forward, the pulse of the orb guiding him like a lighthouse in the howling storm. The shadows behind them roared, their shrieks rising and falling like the chaos of a wild sea. Adrenaline surged through him, screaming at him to move faster, run harder, escape. Sam and Jenna were right beside him, their breaths heavy and panicked, but determination shone through their fear. The walls of the cave loomed, raw and jagged, illuminated by the orb's glow. For a brief moment, the shadows faltered, the air vibrating with anticipation. It felt as if the cave itself was alive, waiting, holding its breath as they neared that shimmering vortex of light. Suddenly, Sam stumbled, his foot catching on a broken stone. The sound of his fall echoed like thunder, and Caleb's heart dropped. There was no time. "Get up, Sam," he shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos, but Sam was still down, struggling against the weight of despair that the shadows pressed upon him. "Go. I'll hold them back." Sam gasped out, his voice strained as he pushed against the ground, desperation tinged with defeat. "No!" Jenna cried, reaching for him, but the shadows surged, thick and writhing, ready to consume them all. Caleb felt the energy shift, a cold wave washing over him. The darkness was savoring its opportunity, hungry to claim the moment of weakness. "Sam, come on!" Caleb shouted again, extending his hand, feeling the orb pulse desperately in response to their urgency. It was as if it understood what was at stake, but Sam shook his head fiercely, tears pooling in his eyes, a painful determination etched across his face. "You have to go, don't let them win." Frustration clawed at Caleb's throat, rage struggling against the dam of hope that held him steady. It was cruel, the way the shadows twisted around Sam, trying to snuff out the light that clung to him. And yet, a beacon of courage swelled inside him. Jenna, their bond stronger than any darkness. "Hold on to each other," Caleb yelled, grabbing Jenna's hand tightly. "Together." With a desperate surge, Sam nodded, but it almost seemed too late. The shadows lunged, swirling to consume him whole. Caleb's heart raced. They had to act fast. In a swift motion, Caleb turned back, racing toward Sam. He could feel the shadows clawing at him, piercing the air with jagged whispers. But there was no choice, he couldn't leave his friend behind. As he reached Sam, grabbing him by the arm, a powerful surge burst from the orb, lifting them both with a blinding light. Jenna joined, wrapping her arms around them, pulling them tightly together. "Now!" Caleb called, and as if the orb anticipated the command, it exploded in a burst of light, sending an incandescent wave through the cave. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as their hold shattered. With a surge of strength, they propelled forward, breaking through the darkness as a trio, the bond between them unyielding. The deeper they ventured, the brighter the light became until suddenly, they were in a vast chamber. What lay ahead astonished them. An ethereal expanse filled with shimmering crystals sprawled beneath a vast, starry abyss. But something was off. The crystals pulsed rhythmically, almost like hearts beating. A shadow of something larger loomed in the center of the chamber. A figure wrapped in darkness, watching. The air crackled with tension. "What is that?" Jenna whispered, her voice trembling as they stepped cautiously forward, trying to comprehend the soul of this realm. Caleb felt the weight of their choice resting heavily on his shoulders. This was no simple truth they had come to uncover. The figure stirred, a low rumble threading through the atmosphere, and a chilling voice echoed, "Welcome, you've finally arrived." As fear struck deep into Caleb's heart, the question pulsed in his mind: were they ready for the revelations that awaited them, or had they just walked into a trap? With a heart-stopping silence engulfing the chamber, the figure shifted closer, its intentions unreadable. What truth were they about to confront? And would it bind them further or tear them apart? The towering figure loomed over them, obscured by darkness, its voice dripping with an otherworldly calm. "You seek answers? You have traversed the depths of fear and despair to arrive here. But knowledge comes at a cost." The pulse of the crystals intensified, throbbing like 1,000 heartbeats echoing through the cavernous space. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering secrets that reached through the fabric of time. Caleb stepped forward, defiance illuminating his expression. "We're not afraid. We've come this far. We want to free the lost souls. We refuse to pay in darkness. His voice boomed with conviction, bolstered by the warmth of Jenna and Sam, standing steadfast by his side. The figure chuckled, a sound that sent shivers racing across their skin. Bravery, indeed. But bravery without wisdom is folly. The souls you wish to save, they were trapped by their own choices. Do you possess the same willingness to bear their burden? Jenna's heart raced. We want to abandon them. That's why we're here. The urge to save those souls amplified within her, but a wave of doubt washed over her. What if saving them meant losing themselves? She stole a glance at Caleb, who seemed resolute yet tortured, battling with the shadows that still whispered gluttonous temptations in his ears. Then choose. Would you sacrifice one of your own to liberate the many? The figure challenged, shadowy tendrils wrapping tighter around the crystal heart pulsating before them. The price of knowledge is steep, and the scales of fate are unforgiving. Would you turn your back on the bond you share for the sake of strangers? Caleb's voice wavered for a moment. What do you mean? We're not leaving anyone behind. Yet as he spoke, an unsettling uncertainty curled around his thoughts. If it came down to it, would they really be willing to sacrifice one of their own? The figure's intensity roared. Fate beckons. Either choose one of your hearts to relinquish or embrace your own doom, forever bound to the hollowed souls you sought to save. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Walls heaved, and the cacophony of lost souls intensified, merging with Caleb's frantic thoughts. His breathing quickened and sweat beaded on his brow. We can't choose like that. Sam shouted over the clamor, his voice tinged with fear. That's not what we came for. Listen. Jenna took a deep breath, grounding herself. This cave thrives on choice and consequence. We need to stand united and find a different way. She looked at her friends, eyes blazing with resolve. Together, we can figure this out. We're stronger than whatever darkness is trying to tear us apart. The shadows shrieked in fury as one bold assertion broke through the chaos, their unyielding bond. Caleb nodded, the warmth of his friends flooding over him, pushing fear away. We want to allow the cave to divide us. We don't leave anyone behind. Slowly, as if drawn by an unseen force, the shadows lingered back, forced to recede. The crystal heart pulsed brighter, illuminating the chamber with a soft glow, and the anguished cries quieted. Is this your final answer? The entity hissed, its form shifting impatiently. Caleb stepped forward, a protective stance unfolding over his friends. We'll face whatever lies ahead, together. We refuse to betray our bond for answers. We might not know what awaits, but we know we've come this far together, and will continue as one. The topic of sacrifice hung heavy in the air, weaving its way through the darkest aspects of their minds. Would it truly require someone to step forward willingly? Or could they dissolve the dichotomy that seemed so inevitable? Each of them felt the weight of their choices anchor deep. With a sudden rush, the shadows recoiled entirely. The figure faltered, as if the unwavering courage had not just weakened its hold, but shaken its very foundation. Then claim your truth, it spoke finally, uncertainty escaping its voice. But do not think the shadows will simply vanish. Every truth uncovered holds more than just answers, it harbors lingering consequences. A blinding light engulfed the chamber. Blaring like a siren, yet filled with warmth. As it settled, they found themselves standing on a platform, newly bathed in radiant colors emanating from the pulsating orbs around them, the whispers transformed, no longer morning cries but hushed encouragements, guiding them towards their next steps. In that moment, they understood the truth wasn't about gem-like information but about the power of their connection. The shadows hesitated, recognizing their wariness of the past and the fortitude they had gained in trusting one another. You have escaped the darkest corners of this cave, the figure announced, its tone now steadied. But know this, what lies ahead still commands a choice. Be vigilant, for the shadows are intelligent, ever watching, always dreaming of the darkness they receded from. A new path unveiled before them, radiant and connected, weaving around shadows, intertwining with sparkling streaks of light. They exchanged quick glances imbued with respect and gratitude. Jenna smiled softly, the warmth of hope filling the void that had lingered. Together, Sam nodded, exhaling the tension coiling in his chest. With one final uniting breath, they ventured forth, heart steady. What they once sought was now clear. They stood, not as individuals but as warriors bound by immeasurable loyalty. They weren't merely seeking answers, they had become the answer. The cave pulsed, a thrilling revelation echoed through the cavern, promising freedom for those who had dared to tread upon its dangers. And for the first time, they believed they might emerge stronger, beacons of light in a world that had once threatened to snuff them out. As the ground beneath them shifted, a final, resonating truth surfaced: they were in control of their destiny, ever after entwined in shared stories of discovery, resilience, and unwavering bonds of friendship. The shadows fell silent, ephemeral tendrils slipping away, leaving only their lingering echoes, a testament to the choices forged anew. Black Hollow had not claimed them, it had illuminated them, guiding them towards a brilliant future waiting beyond. As the light enveloped them, hope surged in waves, a fiery promise of the stories yet to unfold and the adventures to come. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support for the adventures ahead. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.